Welcome back to Client School. We're going to continue with explaining legalese concepts. And one of the most common questions I get is, Eric, what is the difference in Utah between a full physical custody award and a sole physical custody award? Well, interestingly enough, the Utah Code does not define for child custody purposes, for a child custody award, what sole custody is. It is used in the code sections governing child support awards. So we're going to kind of be working back and forth between these two codes to understand what this means. First of all, full physical custody is a term that people that aren't lawyers use. I don't really know what full custody is. I don't think I've ever seen it defined anywhere. I don't use the term because it isn't statutory and it's confusing. A lot of people think full custody means that I have the children most of the year, more often than my spouse does. But sole physical custody does not mean the other parent has no contact with the kids, no overnights. That's not what that is. Sole physical custody for child support purposes means that one parent has the kids the majority of the year, and in order for you to be the non-custodial parent, which again doesn't mean you have no contact, it simply means you have less time. For you to be the non-custodial parent, you have to have 110 or fewer overnights with the children each year. Now that then raises the next question. What does joint custody, joint physical custody mean in the state of Utah? It means not 50-50. It can mean equal time each year for both parents, but it can also mean as few as 111 overnights with one parent. So if you're the parent with 111 overnights, you are a joint physical custodian. That means anything up to 112, 13, 14, that sort of thing, you're still a joint physical custodian. And only if the other parent has 110 overnights or fewer would those parents cease to be joint physical custodians. Now, 365 days a year cannot be divided evenly, so one of you will be having 182 overnights every year, 183 for the other. That's not the only way to do it, by the way. You can, with kind of a legal fiction, say that we truly have pure 50-50 custody and each one of us has 182.5 overnights when it comes to calculating child support. If your attorney doesn't know how to do that, give me a call, because I do. Now, there are many people that do, but some attorneys will claim it can't be done, and it can. Remember, this was a physical custody discussion, but I had to discuss it in the context and the concept of child support as well to give you some idea of what's happening. Now let's talk about legal custody. Can there be sole legal custody? Yes, there can. Legal custody is, in a nutshell, the power to make decisions regarding the children's health, education, religion, moral upbringing, things like that. It has nothing to do with where the children live. It's the power to make decisions regarding your minor children. You can have sole legal custody, where that's entirely possible, to have the other parent have no power at all. You make all decisions. The other parent may be able to offer opinions, but has no power to stop you from making those choices. You can have joint legal custody, where both of you have to make the decisions together, and in the event that you don't, you either have to go to court or have some other tiebreaker mechanism in place. One thing that's actually really annoying is when people say we have joint legal custody, but in the event that we don't agree, one spouse, one ex-spouse, has the power to decide any logjam or to any conflict. Well, that's not joint legal custody. That's sole legal custody, because the only time you ever actually feel like you have joint legal custody is when you happen to agree with the spouse with all the power, or the tie-breaking authority, which they call it. You can also have split legal custody, where it might be I get to choose or make all the choices regarding education, and my ex-wife gets to make all the choices with regard to medical care and things like that. It's not a bad idea necessarily. It's not necessarily the best idea, but it can work for some people. Generally, I favor joint legal custody, and it shouldn't come as no surprise that increasingly in Utah, the courts do too. It's pretty hard not to get joint legal custody unless you're just a terribly unfit parent. Thanks for coming to Client School, and watch for our other videos that talk about dispelling other myths and explaining legalese so that you really understand what's going on in your divorce and family law case.